Chapter 5. Freddie's Dead. My stay in Greenwich Village was a short one, no more than 2 or 3 months. Longing for home, I began making plans to move back to Jersey City. At this time, 2 very significant things were going on. Mom, who had been out of the hospital for a while and living in her own apartment, was relocating to Bloomfield to be close to a gentleman she was seeing, and Freddie was out of prison. After coming back from the village, I had been crashing with the road manager for one of the bands and was in need of a permanent place. I took over Mom's apartment and brought Freddie in with me. A good friend, who was a longshoreman, told me about a job opening at the docks, and we were able to get Freddie employed. He was making excellent money, and it was a great opportunity to turn his life around. But he wasn't ready for change. Immediately, things were missing from the apartment, and I began finding hypodermic needles and spoons of heroin laying around. My friends didn't like the atmosphere any longer and stopped coming over. He had ripped most of them off, conning them with many schemes he had learned during his incarceration. One day, the apartment was raided by narcotics agents. They tore the place apart, but didn't find anything. Feeling heat from the police constantly, watching his activities, and fearing the people he had stolen from, he discreetly took off for California to stay with Tommy. With all that had taken place, it's safe to say that my life was completely bankrupt. The coffee house, Corvette, and relationships were all gone. So was the job at Two Guys. I quit because it no longer interested me, and now was ripe for a change. In this era, California was a mecca for the young and the restless. My friends were making the trip in carloads in search of freedom and opportunity. I decided to cast in my lot as well. With less than $1,000 in savings, I bought a '66 Ford, picked up a few riders who had advertised in the Village Voice to share the expenses, and headed west. After dropping my passengers off in Los Angeles, I arrived in San Diego with 1/8 of a tank of gas, 37 cents in my pocket, and a paper bag filled with clothes. I went straight to Tommy's place. He was married now and renting a beautiful townhouse. His wife Sandy and I were very cordial with each other, and she welcomed me in to stay until I was able to get on my feet. Although Freddie was there, everyone was still on good terms. We were 3 brothers together again, frequenting nearby Tijuana, Mexico, and reveling in old times. Hard feelings were cast aside, as often done when it comes to family, but then Freddie's behavior put a strain on things. Once, while in Mexico, he purchased Quaaludes and speed. On our way back to the U.S., we were stopped by the Border Patrol and searched. There were 5 people in the car with us, including Tommy and Sandy. Freddie started handing everybody pills, urging us to take them so the officers wouldn't find anything. Everyone refused except for one friend. He and Freddie quickly consumed several handfuls. After a humiliating strip search that lasted 2 to 3 hours, they let us go. On another occasion, he robbed the landlord's townhouse, which was right next door. That brought the axe down, and we had to leave. We then rented a motel room in downtown San Diego. Financially, it was a good move because I couldn't handle the expenses alone. I immediately went to work doing various minimum wage jobs to pay the bills and put money away for a place of my own. I worked as a delivery person for an Italian restaurant, a dryer and folder in a commercial laundromat, and bagged ice cubes in an ice house. After about 1 month, I was able to move into a little redwood cottage in Ocean Beach. Here my circle of friends grew, and I moved into a beach house with 4 other people. One of them was Joey Nichols. His peers included some Navy guys who smoked large amounts of marijuana. Because San Diego had a huge naval base and his friends were constantly being relocated to the base in Seattle, he became their supplier, and I occasionally hitched a ride with him as he transported kilos to them from Mexico. Somewhere in the mix, Greg, a friend from Jersey City, came to visit. During his stay, he was introduced to Joey, and arrangements were made for him to receive shipments when he returned home. Since I had a desire to visit Jersey City again to see family and friends, I volunteered to run the package. Greg, Joey, and a few of his associates put together some money and brought some kilos up from Mexico. Joey took off for Seattle, and I caught a flight to New Jersey. I was not a drug user at the time, so I never tested the quality. On my second trip, it turned out that the grass was low grade. Greg called me when I got back to San Diego and complained that no one wanted to buy it. Feeling responsible for his loss, I decided that I would pay him back. Unemployment was high in California, and because I still had a bit of wanderlust in me, I temporarily moved back to New Jersey with the intent of making enough money to return his investment. I took a job as a truck driver, and in 6 months, I was able to keep my end of the bargain and return to the West Coast. For the next couple of years, I took on odd jobs and traveled up and down the coast enjoying life. My romp through paradise, however, came to a sudden halt when reality broke through and I started feeling the sting of Charles Valentine, son of Susan and Fred, product of rape, piercing the delicate balance in my mind. My position had been compromised and the demons of my past began to haunt me as before. Feeling myself dangling above the tombs of insanity, I decided to run. I was 28 then, and as usual, Jersey was my chosen sanctuary. Got an apartment in my hometown of Jersey City and began hanging out in the clubs. This is when I started using cocaine. At one of the night spots, I met a beautiful woman named Rita. She was an extremely popular party girl with a large circle of friends that included musicians, drug dealers, and club owners. Despite the fact that she was moving in the fast lane, she was very down-to-earth and family-oriented. I was looking for something to save me, and I believe she and the institution of marriage were it. We exchanged vows at St. Anne's in Jersey City and moved to Boulevard East in Weehawken. One night, following one of many parties we had at our apartment, I sat up in bed, scared and sweating. There was Freddie standing before me in a vision. In a calm voice, he said, "Charlie, I died, and everything is okay." I responded, "That's good, Freddie," and went back to sleep. This incident bothered me for many days, and I dared not share it with anyone because I was sure they wouldn't believe me. I pushed all thoughts of Freddie aside and focused on moving my life forward. I took a job with a major guitar manufacturer with the intention of perfecting my playing skills. While there, the owner took a liking to me and offered me a position as a sales representative. I accepted, although terrified, thinking the responsibility might push my mind over the edge. In a matter of weeks, I was a nervous wreck. My marriage was strained and the walls seemed to be closing in as the pressures of life were too unbearable. Without warning, I left Rita the job and fled to San Diego. As soon as I arrived, I got word that Freddie had actually died from a heroin overdose the same night of my dream. It happened at the hotel where he was employed as a maintenance worker. Some friends had put together some money and gave him a funeral. It saddened me to know that Freddie was gone, but underneath the deep remorse was a slight sense of relief because I didn't have to protect him any longer. In addition, Bobby was in a mental institution by now, and I didn't have to worry myself sick wondering how he was holding up either. With Tommy married and doing okay, I felt at peace and concluded that my obligation to my brothers had been fulfilled. Life took on a bright perspective, and I finally had a moment to breathe easy and spread my wings. How long this window would stay open, I didn't know, but I was determined to make the most of it and not let any opportunity slip through my hands.